What's up, guys?
Yo, yo.
Is it working?
I don't see
Is it
us up.
rolling?
Oh, there it is. There it is.
Okay,
Yeah,
it's
we're
working
here.
now. Perfect. What's Gucci, gang? What's Gucci, gang?
We're keeping everyone on the edge. You don't know when we're gonna start podcasting.
Yeah, we started a bit late today, guys, but people go busy. Um, it's fine. You waited. You
Stop edging
waited.
us.
You waited, so that's good. I mean, I'm not trying to make it sound like you guys would wait. Like you get what I'm saying, like right? But you guys waited, which is good. Stop edging us. Oh god damn. Oh god damn. This escalated as quickly as it escalated. Okay. Well, guys, all of you get in the fucking chat. Get in the fucking chat, guys. Come on. Get in the chat. So how is everyone doing today? How's everyone? How are you, Ring? You good?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. It's I was just at an all-you-can-eat Korean place, and oh my God, the amount of
Okay,
sodium I
so
just
you went
ingested.
heavy with it. You went heavy with it.
Heavy,
You went
heavy. I had some
gluttonous. You
ramen.
you went gluttonous, is what you're saying.
Yeah,
Excess.
yeah.
Okay,
But all people have to indulge at one point, you
I
know? That's
agree
just
with
like
it.
the fruit of life.
My attitude is don't listen, man. Don't be crazy, but don't restrict yourself. Unless you're on a
Mhm.
diet or something, you can do that. But there's no reason to have a weird relationship with food. If something tastes good,
Exactly.
go for it. How's everyone, guys? What's up? Doing good. Just watch Spider-Man 3. Oh, you know what's crazy? You know what's crazy? I was obsessed. I was obsessing lately for the past like maybe 2 weeks, 1 week. I was sick, and I was playing Spider-Man, Marvel Spider-Man 1, and I was watching fuck ton of like Spider-Man 1, 2, 3, the Toby ones. I was just Toby ones, right? Super into it. I'm like, maybe I should rewatch all three, binge that shit. So I'm definitely into it. My watch it. PlayStation Spider-Man. Well, it's on PC, but yeah, it is PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5 Spider-Man. Watching all Spider-Man movies. I don't like the new ones though. I'm not a fan of Tom Holland. I'm not a fan of Tom Holland, and you maybe will call me a boomer, right? You'll call me a boomer because you like Tobey Maguire? That's like 2002. Yeah, yeah. It wasn't cringe. Now it's cringe. It's like it clearly is made for the TikTok motherfuckers. It's clearly made for the kids. It's very obvious. Back then, different vibe. It had maturity. It felt mature. This one is for kids. Oh, Tom Holland. Oh, what's the average age gap of people who like Tom Holland? 17, 16. Give me a break, you know? And what's the average age gap of people who like Tobey Maguire? 60, 50. That's not even fair. That's not even fair. What Enneagram do you think is, dude? SP4, I'm going SP4. Although SP4 or SP6, I'm kind of in between for both types for Tobey Maguire. But I feel like his dutifulness, with great power comes great responsibility. Seems like it. What you think, Ring? Have you watched the Tobey Maguire ones?
I watched every Spider-Man because I just grew up like you all at the
Yeah,
ages
we
where they
grew
all
up with
came
that
out.
shit. Yeah, we did. Yeah.
Yo, Spider-Man 2, something else. Like that
Oh
shit
my,
was like, ooh, so
superhero
fucking good.
masterpiece, right?
Amazing. I think that the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man is definitely an E4. I'm not 100% sold on SP4, and I'll tell you why in just a bit. I think that the comic book version of Spider-Man is a social 7. I think the Miles Morales variants are almost all social
Yeah,
9s.
yeah.
And I think the recent one with Tom Holland is a sexual 7. And the amazing one, the one with Andrew
Yeah,
Garfield,
yeah,
some sort of E7, probably a
yeah.
social 7. So they're all been actually kind of different. But the reason why it's always interesting because I've read a lot about Spider-Man recently, and I've noticed that the huge thing about Spider-Man is that he wasn't always this altruistic good guy as we see it, you know? it was what happened to his Uncle Ben, and this is why in the recent Spider-Man, like Into the Spider-Verse movies, they call those like I forgot what it was called, something like event, like a timeline event or something where it was needed to happen. And I realized that it's so important that something happens to their quote unquote Uncle Ben because Spider-Man was an to Peter Parker Spider was inherently kind of like a distraught, selfish kind of person, and that when he got his powers, it didn't make him automatically a good dude. In fact, we kind of saw that even in the Tobey Maguire movies, where he kind of started doing this wrestling thing and trying to make money off of it and trying to get back at people. But it was once Uncle Ben died and he had this whole great power comes great responsibility. Now you see the Peter Parker that's like sacrificing constantly, trying to make the world a better place because he constantly lives with the guilt that he's the reason, because of his selfishness, Uncle Ben died. And because of that, I'm not 100% sold on SP4. I think he's E4, but I don't know which one. So that's why. And every Spider-Man practically, maybe outside of maybe Miles Morales, has that, where they initially start off as selfish.
I don't want to hear about Miles Morales. I don't want to hear about Miles Morales.
Mm-hmm.
It's cringe-inducing. I couldn't play Marvel Spider-Man 2. Why am I playing as a guy called Miles Morales? It's a Spider-Man game. Why am I playing a guy called Miles Morales? I don't care about him. He's a no-namer. He's a random. So, I'm not Do you understand how pissed I am? I chose to play fucking Spider-Man game to play as Peter Parker. But instead, I have to switch between them like it's GTA 5. What the fuck, man? And not only that, what's up with Mary Jane? Why am I playing as Mary Jane? Why would I want to play as Mary Jane in a fucking Spider-Man game? What are those people thinking? I don't understand those people. Like, every time I played as Mary Jane, I nearly quit the game. Every single time. I'm like, seriously? Mary Jane? Seriously? I need to play stealth. I need to hide. What is this? She's a journalist who's breaking and entering into fucking facilities, who was hyper protected by soldiers. What is she? A fucking, spy? James Bond? I don't want to hear about Morales. He's cringe. Completely cringe. It's disgusting what they are doing. Fuck that. So, no, Peter Parker, Spider-Man, that's it. There's no other Spider-Mans, there's just Peter Parker.
I think Miles Morales is a good character addition. He's also really popular. The reason why
why is he popular? Because he is basically people's fucking like wet dream. Oh, he's cool. Look at him. I mean, it's people's wet dream. That's all. Social 9. Whoa. Like, come on, man. And maybe he's relatable. Oh, wow. My 12-year-old can relate to Miles Morales. Seriously? Oh, man. Pissed me off. I'm not interested in that, Maybe I'm a boomer. Maybe I'm old school. When I play Spider-Man, I want to play Spider-Man. I'm not interested in stealth. Sorry, I don't like stealth. I don't like to sneak. I cannot sneak. I'm quite physically incapable of sneaking. It's not possible for me to do that. But, yeah. But by the way, Spider-Man, you say kind of a 4. What about Dr. Octavius? He was very hard for me. He seemed way
which
too
version?
For a 5.
Which version are we talking about? Still the Tobey Maguire movies?
Spider-Man 2 movie. Tobey Maguire.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
He's not a 5 because I tried to make him for a 5. The guy's way too fucking assertive. Maybe like a sexual 6 LSI? What do you think? Is this like a hot take? Is this a hot take?
Yeah, I don't know if I would fit. He just lacks the sexual instinct. Outside of like are we gonna count the weird things that happen when he intertwined with his tentacles and his brain chemistry change? Because he's a bit different, actually. His normal personality. I think Social 6 might be it.
Can he even be typed?
I think so. I would say that the default Doc Ock is a Social 6.
Okay, yeah, I could see it. Yeah, the default one.
Yeah. And then maybe with the tentacles intertwining with his brain chemistry, I could definitely see a more aggressive, competitive,
he was more like
actual 6.
We need to do something here and decapitate everybody. I'm like, yo, LII? You're supposed to be a nerd.
Yeah.
Not a nerd.
Yeah, because like in a way,
so.
the before the tentacles, he was kind of like a mentor to Tobey.
He was a mentor, yeah. He was.
Yeah, so I would actually say Social 6. I think 2V makes a lot of sense.
Social 6, guys, we agree with it. Fuck it.
Yeah.
6.
Drake is not a sexual six.
Oh
Drake
my
is
god,
most
no, he's like a
likely,
three core.
yeah, most likely a sexual three. Yeah, most like I would say 90% a sexual three. If not, maybe a sexual two or an SP2, but that's even rough. That's rough.
Yeah, I think he's some like sexual three. Yeah, he's. I think people meme on Drake. I don't know why, because he's always. Why do people meme on Drake? Does anyone know in the chat? Like, is he doing something funny? Like,
I think
people say he's always
before
flexing or something. I don't. What's he flexing?
with Drake, I don't. I think some people definitely see the insecurity lying beneath the surface, and you can see the way he kind of acts. He's kind of like passive aggressive, and he takes underlying shots at people. Like Drake actually got popular in his rap style because he would always be throwing shots at people, saying
Oh,
some like fucked up shit about them, but never name any names. Like he would, it's like he would hang out with you. You'll go to like a party with him, and some fuck shit would happen to you, like you get robbed or something, and then he would drop it into a song like 2 months later and never name it to
oh.
you. That's his rap style. I look into how many popular Drake songs have some sort of way he's like
Yeah,
throwing
that's
shade at
crazy.
somebody, and
That's
it's a lot of
crazy.
people in the industry hate him, but most of the time I think that's fine. You can have that style. I think he's borderline a pedophile, which is a big problem. Like he's a groomer. Like he's had multiple different conversations with young up and coming women actresses, and he just
Yeah,
has
but
weird
that's Hollywood,
situations
you
with that.
know. That's Hollywood, and when it
Yeah,
comes to power, like that's what they will all do this kind of shit. It's not.
shit's weird. Yeah,
It's. I know that about Drake. Some Drake shit was. Although I mean, look at Diddy. They're all dude. They're all fucked up. They're all crazy.
yeah.
Those
There's
people
some
are
weird shit
all
happening there.
fucking insane.
Yeah.
Um. Okay. Self-preservation 9. Well,
For
you
what?
definitely can be an
Oh, okay.
LSI and definitely cannot be an ESI. So you are sadly, although not sadly, maybe because you're a Sigma and SLIs are kind of signified in the community, you have to be an SLI. I know you hate talking about him. You're right. I do. Most overrated character. Why is everyone talking about Light Yagami? It's 2025 and we're still talking about Light
Yeah,
Yagami. Why? Is he okay?
like
Is he really that groundbreaking as a character? Is he really that intense, that complex, that just wow, what a beautiful character? He's from an anime. He comes from a fucking anime. I'm not saying he's not a good character, but let's not pretend it's some fucking Shakespearean fucking novel, okay? Um, I think like Yagami, I know there's a new correlation EIE Social 1. Let's make it work. Why not, guys? Let's do something cool here. EIE Social 1. Best of
I've been
both.
saying he's social one for
Best
months,
of both.
weeks, years, you
People
know?
want to say
So
he's
I'm
a
pretty
Social
happy about
1.
that.
Fits. Raven said EIE. Okay. EIE Social 1. Easy. He's not
I
even a Social 2. Because why would he be a Social 2? Just because he's so arrogant and superior, that actually wouldn't even just fit social 2. Social 2s are social climbers who fucking conquerors wanting to have more influence, be famous, be a person of reference. I'm not even sure he fits social 2 anyway.
yeah, and he kind of ruled the world from the background as
Which is
well.
the
Like he
last
didn't
thing a
have that
social
position.
2 would do, by the way.
Yeah, and this is why I was never a fan of Social 2. I actually would say he would more likely be a Social 7 than he would be a Social 2, and I think Social 7 is pretty bad as
No,
well.
you guys should
I
stop
think Social
glazing them. No.
Social 1 is probably his best bet, and people are like, how can the Social 1 be so like socially charismatic? Every social instinct is socially charismatic. Like they all know how they all are hyper fixated on interacting with others. I would easily say that. Social 1 is his best fit. I don't have too many thoughts on his socionics type. I
Yeah,
wasn't I wasn't a fan of his socionics breakdowns, but more a fan of his Enneagram breakdowns, as
yeah.
usual.
Let's just say social 1. But listen,
Yeah.
no, listen. Yeah, I mean, you're glazing them. You're glazing an anime character. Let's think about that for a second. We're glazing an anime character. You should glaze conquerors in real life, right? Butchered millions. But what did they do? Amazing feats. But not a fucking anime character. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think. Listen, I love cinema. I love cinema. I watched more than 1,000 movies. Well, compared to many, that's probably nothing. But I love cinema. And I love a good example of a good character development. But fuck's sake, constant fucking Light Yagami, fucking Death Note. It's always the same shit. Or Walter White. Walter White. And look, Walter White, he's a great character. We can really agree with that. But we've been over Walter White for fucking decades. It's there's no point of circle jerking it anymore, you know? SCI, SP9, I don't know why that would work, but maybe if you have a good reasoning, maybe. What types could fit SP6? Some people say EII for sure. Some people say LII, but it's up to you to really make the connection. But definitely FI base or TI base in that kind of realm, you know. Do you think you could make an Enneagram relationship compatibility chart, or is that beyond scope of Enneagram?
So I think he wants us to make like a list of all the red flag toxic relationships that one can have, because when we think about Enneagram,
kind
they're
of like
just
the
all
socionics dualities and stuff. I mean, there's no such thing really, but I did see Haiki talk about best like matches in Enneagram. Maybe we can give it a try, you know.
I think I've seen like something about like E4s generally work okay with E7s. I've seen E3s work decently with E6s, but I think it's such a weird like thing, because Enneagram is like, you have so many red flags with like two unhealthy people of any type would just not work together because they're unhealthy, or they would just have a weird relationship that's just going to malfunction in one way or another. So that's weird to me, for sure. Because like a healthy person of an Enneagram type doesn't look like their Enneagram type. They just look like a normal, average, boring person.
Completely true. Which is, yeah. So taking pride in, I'm so blueprinted. Not a good thing. You're actually admitting that, you know, you are struggling. Tiago de Freitas Barroso, Social 3. Can be rebellious, at least argue for sure. Social 3 is the most aggressive 3 core. And they can be very vindictive, sometimes compared to the 8. So easy, very easy.
Yep. Absolutely.
Marvelous. People forget social 2 is histrionic and emotional like all 2s. That's why they type Light Yagami, even though he's an embodiment of Jungian ET. I don't. You know my.
You're right, but young. Oof.
you know my take on Jungian typology.
Oh,
First of all, I have beef with Jungian people, mainly because they're mostly geeks and they're mostly intuitive types. And sorry, I know it's discriminatory, but if most people like a system are intuitives, that tells me anything I need to fucking know, which just means that they're disconnected from morality itself. And it shows, okay? Not a big fan of that. Not a big fucking fan of that. Why are we using a system that's not a system? You know, why are we using something that's not really developed in any way, shape, or form? There's no systematic. There's nothing. It's 8 functions. There's not even. There's just one function. A human being just has one function, and that's it. Maybe sometimes has differentiated auxiliary function. Sometimes, right? And that's it. That's it. I have one function. Nothing else. That's who I am. Extroverted sensation type. That's it. There's just nothing else. Complete bot activities, brain dead, nothing. So yeah, I think it's overly simplistic, and I feel like it works as an archetype. So I would use Jungian unironically. If you're a filmmaker, use Jungian archetype. Use those Jungian typology. Why not? Oh, he's an extroverted sensing type. Keep it like vague, very simple, very basic overview without any nuance. Yeah, I'm not interested in Jung. I'm not.
Jungian has so many things. Like the idea of people really try to fix it by adding like the differentiations, like the N and the S or the T or the F or whatever. But the reality is most people, unless they reach late into their life, I'm talking like 45, 50, are not going to even have a solid differentiation into any of those quote unquote subtypes. If you're an EN, you're unlikely to be an ENT by the age of 20 to 25. You're likely just going to be an EN. And even that's more vague. That's even more vague. And the thing is, it's not like current systems. You can change your Jungian type. You can go from EN to IF.
And
Yes,
you
you
know
can go
what
to EN
bothers
to
me even
IF.
more? It's kind of like this hyper inconsistency, which I had hard time accepting, like a SEE social 2, because people told me it's extrovert intuition. So
Yeah.
I'm thinking, like, I'm okay with the SEE social 2 typing, but then you say it's extroverted intuition. I'm
I think the
confused.
crazy part is,
And
Russ, I think most people online are extroverted intuition. Like, I feel like that just everyone gets typed EN. Like,
well, I
crazy.
don't think it's hard because it's the Ubermensch. It's kind of like he wants more and more and more, and he's a conqueror. He's always reaching for more. Boom, extroverted intuitive. You know,
Yeah, it's just,
even
and
I
like
could pass for one.
ET feels weird because it's just like, oh, you're just like this very much rule abiding person that everyone should follow this, and it's really
Exactly.
just E1.
There's no in between there. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And it's just it's not great. And I feel like 9 times out of 10, and I see this too on PDB, right? The
Mm.
young boards, no one's talking in the young
Yeah. No
boards.
one.
Every time is brought up, it's always in a correlation.
Yes,
It's like,
always,
how do you
always.
explain How do you explain E7 for
Yeah.
ET? And I'm like, yo, bro, ET go home, bro. I don't want to fucking care.
Yeah, because the truth is, no one gives a shit about Jung when it comes to Jung itself. Because there's nothing to
Yes,
discuss. There's nothing to discuss.
nothing.
Oh, let's discover new
Or
things
Z.
about the Jungian extroverted thinking type. There's nothing. There's nothing. And most boring system that has ever fucking been created. And guys, I swear to you, for your own sake, your own mental health, don't care about it. Trust me. Why use Jung when you can use socionics? An actual system. I don't get that. Okay? Anyway, let's see. Is it possible for AIDS to like anime? Of course it's possible. I mean, listen, I'm not saying that just because it's anime. I would say that probably like 8 years ago, or you like anime, okay. But now, back then when you liked anime, like back like 8 9 years ago, if you liked anime, there was something seriously wrong with you. Like it was usually certain specific types of people. Now, if you like, everyone likes anime. My dog likes anime. My grandmother likes anime. Everyone likes anime. So now it's kind of like, of course, like everyone likes anime, and it's anime became so like mainstream and so really widespread. We have so much different animes, and that everyone likes them. I've watched anime. I mean, I've watched growing up Dragon Ball Z, everything like that, obviously. And then not that long ago, I was watching on Titan anime. Some of this monologuing stuff really bothered me. It's like just monologuing his internal thoughts, and I'm like, why are you monologuing your thoughts for about 30 minutes? What's going on? I don't need to know every single thing you think about when you look at another person. So very weird for me, the style. But I can like anime. I'm not against anime. Besides, again, guys, nowadays anime, you're just a normie. Back then, anime, you're mentally ill. So that's very different. Very different. Um, Bright Spur. I've never really delved into Enneagram yet, but a former self-proclaimed social 2 ENFP SE said, okay. I mean, it's not that bad, right? He's ENFP, which he isn't, obviously. He's an ESFP. But I was an SP. Well, I wonder how much I can. You cannot trust their judgment because it's wrong, and they're not stupid for thinking that. So let's establish one thing: they're not dumb for thinking you're an II-SP6. They're not, because that kind of II-SP6 is not a bad take, and it's a take we all had. But when you look at when you look at Enneagram 6, why would it be an I base? Why would it be an irrational type? It isn't. This is a type that has very rigid judgment, so it just doesn't make sense. Everything is about linear thinking process, fear. It's not just go with the flow, adapt. It's the opposite of Enneagram 6. So if you're an SP6 and you're an IEI, you're likely just an SP6 EII. At least in like classic or some shit, Good examples for sexual 5. Do you have any good examples for sexual 5? Ring?
Yes. Yes, I actually did. And you know what? I cannot remember their name right now. Which is kind of useless, I know. Let me see if I can find it on my PDB.
It's fine. You can look for it, and then we can get back at it.
Yeah.
I don't have any examples, especially nowadays. Um, things
I
change.
liked I liked one that's come to my head. I didn't want to say this one because it's still kind of like hit or miss. Crollo, Lucifer for
Oh,
like
okay, I've heard of it.
from Hunter X Hunter. Some people say social 7, some people say social 2. I think sexual 5 wins the test of time, and I think sexual 5 is still probably its best typing. But let me see later on if I can think of another one that's like less argued. But yeah, that's my answer.
Paul, why do you think Jesse Pinkman? Why do people think? I think because the truth is I can see why that typing is very weird for him. You know, I can see it, but he is all about his sensations. You know, like oh, let me numb myself out with drugs and comfort, so I can feel better and get along with desires of everyone else. I don't get people why they type him 8. I don't understand this. Jesse fucking Pinkman as an 8 core is really beyond me as an SE base. And I know people will come, oh, because you think SE bases are macho. Your mom's macho, you dumb motherfucker. Okay? Your mom's macho. Fucking bought activities everywhere I go recently. Okay? So I'm a bit fucking annoyed. But no, it's not because of that, but more so because this is someone who, again, loses himself in his comfort zone, taking drugs, not giving a shit. If you think that's an SE base, sure. But at least not in Classic. That ain't a fucking SI ignoring in Classic. That's more likely the hedonistic type, which is more like SEI, for example, even, you know. But I'm not saying he is or he isn't. I'm just giving you, like, an example why. What do you, Bellis Marvelous, what do you think Diddy is? Diddy is a mystery because I don't know that much about him. So I cannot really tell you. Some people say sexual 8. And people are weird because they think sexual 8, he cannot be sexual 8 because he's fake or he's manipulative, while sexual 8 is exactly like that. They can exactly like that. Someone who can even be very polite, be very nice, hide their antisociality and make it more acceptable, right? So this is people just don't understand sexual 8 when they're saying he can't be that because look at him, he's behind the scenes, that's sexual 8s are this way. They're not, wow, I'm a monkey. That's not what they are like. Ryder asks, what's a good way of words to explain Enneagram 4? I mean, if I was to, talk to someone on the street, or I would say that this is someone who suffers greatly from a sense of lacking, inherent sense of lacking, things not being good enough in themselves or in the world, and they can see shortcomings or live in a state of dissatisfaction when they're not very healthy, not in a good state of mind. That's what I would say. They're more common. I would describe them as quite melancholic and drawn to the melancholy, right? I would say artistic for sure, very introspective. I would say emotionally deep. I would say those things, but again, a lot of melancholy, which and dissatisfaction can be low self-esteem. That's what I would say, actually. Durek and asks, Rust and Ring, would you say you have changed your viewpoints in regards of typology in the last year? Yeah. I mean, I changed my viewpoint in the last 3 months. Every single time you watch my channel, right? And it's been for 2 years or something. I guarantee you, every 3-4 months, changes happen. So for sure, 100,000,000%, and I think it's necessary. Unless you're gonna say that typology is factual, so it doesn't change. Then yeah, but I thought it's pseudoscience. So why the fuck is it not changing? I'm kind of confused here. So of course it's always changing. What do you think, Ring, about this question?
My first response was like, yours hasn't. I think everyone's viewpoint should change and evolve. But honestly, a lot of what I believed earlier in
Yeah,
2024
it's
is
kind
kind
of
of what I
same.
believe now. I think I'm even in less arguments, debates, and standoffs with people because I feel like people have adopted a lot more of what I already naturally
Yeah,
believe
you
in.
were preaching
Software
it
based
before
on
they even knew
correlation.
about it.
Yeah, like NI Creative Social 1 is becoming popular. Social 7 LIE is practically like a meta typing now. Using Enneagram fundamentalism, being more moderate with correlations, not being like rigid or being
Yeah,
anti, but kind of using it,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
transformations. I honestly think it feels pretty good. I think you should always be evolving,
yeah.
but I feel like my takes have relatively stayed the same, actually.
Mine, I feel like mine changed because I'm my biggest flaw, which I am trying to combat for the past, honestly, as long as I have been in typology, is to become less committed to the takes and to have less conviction, which is funny. So I have to have less conviction in the takes, and not jump the gun so quickly. Oh, this is how, this is what it is. Especially if I'm not sure, if there is some possibility that there is open area for discussion. So that's what I'm trying to do, and I think I've done it pretty well. I'm open with correlations. I don't. I like, they're changing. They're going to change even more. We're definitely changing, and I just try to be open minded. I guess. June is asking, how do you think about typing in regards to your unhealth? Should you type yourself based on your worst moments, or how you act consistently, or something in the middle? It's really fun you ask this question, because
Hmm.
I had a conversation with Ring about exactly this. Like a long
Yeah,
time
we
ago, I
did.
was confused about my subtypes, and we were kind of talking about how are we like when we're not healthy. Ring, what would you say to this person? Because you have pretty. I like your take on this.
I think that when it comes to Enneagram, there's like a bias towards looking at your unhealthier moments, and it makes sense because when you heal from your Enneatype traumas, you become less like your Enneatype. There's moments where I'm talking
Yeah,
to Rust, I'm looking at my own behavior, I'm talking to other people that we've successfully typed in the past, and I think in those moments when we're having genuine conversation, there's no like psychological pressure or conflict. I couldn't even tell who
yeah.
what Enneagram type we were in that conversation. If you like watched it for 5-10 minutes, you would have no clue what Enneatype anyone was because they were in a safe, healthy, genuinely
They
good
were
place.
certainly not stereotypical in any way.
Mm-hmm. And so it's tough. I think with Enneagram, it's better off to look at when you were at your worst. But of course, you have to also consider the big picture of your entire life, the good, the healthier parts and the unhealthier parts. But the way Enneagram is, I think you should generally look for when you were most conflicted. But however, like for example, I think we can use Russ as an example here because he was between sexual eight and
Yeah.
social eight. And a lot of this early childhood, he would describe it as being more sexual eight. But
No,
I would
no,
say,
I have to correct you, because
yeah, yeah, please, please.
my issue wasn't so. Okay, I'm gonna, guys, tell you this. Growing up and seeing how I was as a teenager, that wasn't the problem, because sometimes that's what kind of helped me settle on my type, because I would go back and see some of the stuff, how I was like, some journal stuff, and I read it and I'm like, fuck, okay, yeah, this is blueprinted. This is too fucking obvious. Because sometimes we forget about the things or our values that we had 15 years ago or some shit. So it's good to kind of see what was there. So for me, when I was a teenager, it was very obvious. But there was a period in my life where I was very unhealthy, and that made me think, okay, I like taking a piss out of people. I like being provocative. I like making people mad. So there are many things like this that made me think, yeah, but social aid is a, it's a goody two shoes. They're kind of like social nine. They're described like a nine core. That could never be me. I had
Yeah,
no
that's
issue.
funny.
I had no issue in being domineering, aggressive, everything. And it made me feel good. So it's like, if it makes me feel good, I cannot be like, what the fuck. That's kind of how I would describe it for you.
Yeah, so that makes a lot more sense. So I think that's a really good example of one part like having Enneagram biases, right? Like Sing's social eight is just like assertive social nine is just ugh on so many levels. And that's kind of the way people see social eight. But I think that the idea is to get a general timeline of your life, it's good to do so. Reflect on your childhood, reflect on your teenage years, think about your adulthood, and Yeah, I mean, some of you are actually further than that, which I kind of doubt. Consider what's happening right now. It should be
and and
the
and
best way
some
to do it.
and for me, what helps me is to understand that sometimes what I think, oh, maybe it was different. You're not different. Like when you're unhealthy, you're not like, oh my god, you're such a complete different person. And for me, someone asked me about any role, and I'm gonna explain how this kind of connects to this because it really does connect very well. But you're not a different person. You're the same fucking person. You're just more healthy with more balanced worldviews and stuff. So it's not like, wow, I'm a different person. Maybe I was a different type back then. It's like, no, you were the same type. It's just looking back. We don't have perspective, and also you have to understand types are very similar. As in, when you have one type and like an eight, they're all similar. Okay, they're all fucking similar. Especially when they're not healthy, they all will do the same shit. And they just do it a bit differently. The social they will do it with people. That's kind of different. But yeah, that's kind of our take on it. But let's keep on going. Paul says, I like Jung because Jung means young, so he's young and hip. Okay. Spurton Banis, Jungian socionics functions correlate with theory of multiple intelligence theory. Multiple intelligence theory, which I'm guessing is like EQ, as in like kinetic
Yep.
intelligence.
Yep.
I would say, yeah. I mean, for sure you could. I don't say Jungian, nah. But socionics elements, you could definitely make some connections to different intelligences. Like for sure. Especially certain types like SLEs and SCEs. You will nearly always have that kinetic intelligence very high up. They'll be pretty good at that. But that doesn't mean that they will not have verbal intelligence either. So you can make loose correlations or like predispositions. I like to kind of call the word predispositions.
It's really interesting. I for an activity, right? I correlated the theory Gardner's theory of multiple intelligence with socionics. If I can find it, I'll post it in the Rusted Typology server. But that was really fun. Now, of course, it's never going to be one to one, but I definitely agree with this. I'm happy you brought that up because I had that similar thought, and so I correlated the sociotypes
Yeah,
to the theory of multiple
yeah.
intelligences.
It's more predisposition. Same
Yeah.
with like, oh, what pathologies would this kind of type have? It's like I'm not saying you're gonna have it or 100%. You might be more predisposed. Like when I was doing the attachment style, you're not necessarily gonna have this
Yeah.
exact attachment style. You might be more predisposed to have it. For example, Shane Star, welcome Shane. How are you doing? Shout out to Shane. Shane is good, a good man. Good to hear you explain this about Jungian typology. It's been giving me headaches. Yeah, I'm sure it has because um, I mean we probably agree about Jungian. It's not really it's not a system, and especially if you try to make it work with everything else. Oh man, trust me, that
Hmm.
was is you have a very big headache, especially if you do care about like consistency and stuff like that. Tiago de Freitas Barroso, what do you think about LIE Social One? Some traits in Social One looks like any demo. You need to talk to Ring about that because he was the one
Yeah.
who's pushing this take.
I think that it really depends on how much you value certain concepts in socionics, right? If you're a big subscriber of charges, I will say that LIE and Social One has problems there. Generally, the classic LIE is someone who's outgoing, gregarious, warm, and the social one is the opposite of that. They can be charming because they're a social type, as well, but I will say that it is something that is not as likely as, let's say, a social seven would be. Social seven has a lot less conflicts with the LIE than the social one does. But to me, I think that if you were looking for a non-archetypal combo, I think that Vladimir Lenin, is an example of a social one LIE. So I do think it's possible. It's unlikely because there are some conflicts with that.
What does that mean though? Like, well, I don't. Okay, this is the part I don't understand. If it's unlikely,
Sure.
why does that happen? So you're
Be-
saying this personality is just rare? Like, on what basis? Why is this human rare? Like,
Because it would fundamentally require you to have a experience or background in your real life that would alter you in a way that it doesn't make you a clear example of any type. An archetypal LIE is going to be one that's outgoing, warm, gregarious, roll FE, blocked with
Okay.
polar SI. But
Okay.
let's say you grew up in where Lenin grew up in, which was this like czarist Russian society where it was an uprising and it was a revolution, and there was like a lot of things that would kind of prevent you from manifesting in that way. I think that a sociotype is very malleable, more than even Enneagram. I think that a sociotype is very malleable, and that you will have situations where certain things will not make sense, but if you reverse engineer them, I think that Lenin does come off as LIE. I don't think we should type him, let's say, EIE because he was colder. You see what I mean? Like
I don't
I
like the
think he
word
was colder.
malleable when it comes to cognitive
Yeah,
like
I
malleable.
wouldn't say that for Enneagram. I will say that for socionics because
Well,
socionics is
socionics.
something
Why
that
would
you
it? Socionics is your cognition.
yeah,
That's
and
I
it does.
think fucking even less malleable.
No, no, I think Enneagram is more less malleable than socionics because socionics is just the way you perceive the world. It doesn't mean that your external behavior is going to match exactly how you perceive it.
Okay. Okay. All right. Let's go further. Lexi, you guys gonna watch the new season? I will. I will watch the. I watched all seasons of you.
Do you think the guy is sexual 9 or sexual 5? I'm going to ask the big question because I haven't watched it, but the arguments between sexual 5 and sexual 9 for
He's
the guy.
probably not sexual five.
Hmm.
He's probably not a sexual five. We don't understand sexual five very well. That's the problem. Um, I personally am not invested in the type, so I'm not really trying to learn about it, But I'm sure there are some sexual fives who took interest in their own type and have a fucking huge list of properly typed ones. Kind of what I do with Enneagram 8. But I personally just, yeah, sexual five, I have no confidence when it comes to trying to figure that out. Um, right, it's already too much now. You're adding new thing. People don't care. They're not gonna care. Yeah. Bellis McMarris. What does Ring think of SP2 Courtney TDI?
Is that Total Drama Island? I've never watched the show, so I
Oops,
have no clue.
sorry.
But yeah, Godspeed.
Good luck. Okay, going forward. Or else I think fiction characters are not supposed to work with correlations. Anyone can write a character. Yeah, yeah. That's true. Yeah, that is true. To be honest, that's why I try to, okay, characters they don't obey the law of physics. Scorpion Sub-Zero says, how do you see your any role? This is a very good question because this relates to what I was talking about. How we like to think that we're very different because we've grown. For example, for me, it was a drastic difference. More so, probably in my worldview, which then reflected in my actions. But my worldview changed to the degree where it made me think, wow, I'm a different fucking person. It's more so values changed. More so how I perceived weakness, how I perceived strength. That completely flipped, which obviously then altered so much. But for me, it was that was the biggest problem because I was like, so it's not consistent. What the fuck is going on with my personality? And I know I'm consistent with myself, but when I look back, I feel like it's not me. Okay, it's not me. I feel like it's not me. It's someone else. So what we call this is any tweaking, okay, which is very common in the superego. And any role has a certain understanding of its personality, and they want it to be consistent. Same way TI role wants logic to be consistent. Any kind of weird differences and inconsistencies within this realm will cause irritation, bother to this person. And for me, that's what it did. I'm like, I don't get that. Yeah, I was fucking completely different. What the fuck? Am I even the same person? And I had someone tell me, you're the same person because I knew you back then, and you're the same fucking person. You just care about different shit. And that was like, okay, sure. But that's a big example of any role in my own life. I have few other examples. I hate, and I have no tolerance if anyone distorts anyone's character or who they are. I have no fucking tolerance for this behavior. You do this shit to me, I will decapitate you. I don't give a fuck. And if you do this to someone else, you should be decapitated. Because it's unacceptable. So you'll be like, yeah, but if someone's judging your character, they're doing fine. They're judging your internal qualities, who you are on the inside. Now, to me, when I see my character being distorted, I don't appreciate that one fucking bit. Especially because it's not true to who I am. Now, if you want to call me a cunt, I don't mind, but as long make it consistent with who I am on the inside. And if it's consistent with who I am on the inside, you should be free to say whatever you want about me. But don't be distorting who the fuck I am, painting me as something that I'm completely not. And that is about anyone else. If someone does this to Ring, I have no tolerance for this behavior. Now, with this said, if I see someone and I feel like they're not acting like they should, based on who I think they are on the inside, that will make me upset. That will make me angry. Okay? Because I'll think they're fake, or I'll think they're not being consistent with who they're portraying, which to me, it does bother me. I don't like that shit, So those were some of the things that my any role tends to react to, but people's personalities, my own personality, people's internal content, people's potential, I have no tolerance for that kind of thing, Okay, going further. Fuck. How can I differ social 4 and sexual 4? Do you wanna take this question?
How can I differ social 4 from sexual 4? I'll tell you what. There's a lot more in common with E4s, right, than might meet the eye. That you might be thinking you're seeing like an SP4 and it's actually a sexual 4. And yes, I know for some people, but in theory, that should never happen. But in reality, they have so many overlapping traits that you're going to actually see that occur. I want to say for social 4 and sexual 4, the overall thing that you're really looking for is that the sexual 4 externalizes their envy responses. They tend to blame outwards. They tend to hyperfixate into people or things or situations
The
that are
truth is, sexual
causing
4 is
them
way more fucking
problems.
aggressive and hateful.
Yeah,
I mean, keep it
but
simple. Sexual 4 decapitates social 4. Simple.
It's not as simple as that though, because when we say that, it's going to lead to mistypes, and we need to be sure where it actually changes. I've seen social 4s that are argumentative, quote unquote aggressive, but the big thing about them is that they always redirect their envy back into themselves.
Yeah.
So I think that's the bigger thing that they're looking for. Where's the envy going on average?
Yeah, exactly. And with the sexual 4, there's a competitive redirection of the envy onto other people. So there's this competition, which social 4 just doesn't have that way. And sexual 4 is way more comfortable expressing anger. Social 4 really isn't. So they're pretty different, Social 4.
Yeah, I've definitely seen the sexual 4 be more comfortable with expressing anger, but I have seen social 4s be very competitive, very very competitive. I have a social 4 close friend. And when he literally aims to get MVP in every single Rivals game, and if he's not, he literally like gets frustrated.
Yeah, but
like,
that's
he's
kind of
super
different
competitive.
than someone saying the sexual 4 will compete against other people directly. I feel like in a way where the social 4 might not be so confrontational about it.
I definitely don't think the social 4 is as confrontational. I do agree with you on that.
Yeah, that's what I would expect. Okay. Let's keep it going. Jordan Williams, can Enneagram 9 lack mental laziness? Or are they bound to be mentally lazy? It's kind of like saying, can you be a 9 without being a 9? The truth is no. The whole defense mechanism that helps you cope with the harshness of the reality around you makes you become mentally lazy. It's a form of checking out, right? Checking out, where you're not present anymore. And that's done due to narcotization, due to numbing yourself. So, can you be in Enneagram 9 and lack this core quality? And I mean, maybe if you're healthy, maybe you've overcome your neurosis, but I would bet money that you probably didn't. So, yeah, but this doesn't mean that the Enneagram 9 cannot think. So, mentally lazy is a very you have to be careful with how you use this word or the term and how you understand it. They're just more likely to be there's a orientation towards comfort, right? Familiarity, certain routine, doing an action and losing yourself in the flow of it. But that doesn't mean that they're brain dead, obviously. How do you think your older videos from 2022? Beautiful. I think they aged magnificently. I think they aged beautifully. Mainly the reason why I think so is because it shows me how much I've progressed. So I think they've aged pretty well. Obviously, the thumbnail action, the quality is much different. I mean, it will always vary and become very different. But I'm not like one of those people who think they're gonna go to my comment section. Oh, look how this video, you believe that? I don't give a fuck, man. Yeah, I believe that shit. So that's my attitude to it. Of course, I believe that shit. It's fucking 2 years ago. And the person's surprised. I'm confused by that. So to me, I don't really see it as something that's bad or that says something bad about myself or anyone else or even my team or anyone else like that, because we're constantly improving. So I think it's nice that the community improves with me. I think it's nice when everyone, but I'm one of you guys. It's nice. I'm not like some people, they paint themselves. Oh, I have workshops. I'm an expert. Never change their opinion, never adapt to anyone, never adapt to anything, because they're experts, and experts already have solidified knowledge. But with me, I'm one of you. I'm learning as you guys are learning. But I started earlier than you guys. I had access to the resources earlier than you guys, So I'm a step ahead, but that's because of being fortunate enough to be surrounded by the right people and being in typology for much longer. But I'm one of you. That's simple. That's how I view it. June asks, what's the neurotic need of the Enneagram 4? Other types make sense. You want to indulge in hedonism or gluttony. Envy, listen, there's a sense of lacking with the Enneagram 4. A constant sense of dissatisfaction. I don't want to say constant sense of dissatisfaction, because people will be like, oh my god, but I'm not constantly. It's a predisposition towards a sense of dissatisfaction. The grass is greener on the other side. The difference is kind of like Enneagram 7, but the difference is Enneagram 7 escapes this on the daily. The 4 doesn't, okay? So they're stuck in this fuckfest. So a sense of lacking, sense of dissatisfaction with their life, with things not being good enough, right? Feeling like they are alien, stuff like that. This is what happens with the neurotic need. But maybe Ring has a better answer. Ring, what do you think?
I like what you said. I think that's good. I would just add on top of that people forget that it's not simply, oh, the E4 craves this thing that others have, right? It's definitely that, but in addition to that, that craving, that desire for more, for better that others have that they don't, and they feel inferior, that is a part of their personality. SP4, sexual 4, social 4, each E4 at some point has internalized their lack as part of their actual personality. So it's not simple as, oh, you already have all this stuff. Don't be so sad and envious about it. The problem is that being in a state of lack in comparison to others has become an aspect of who they are. So it's actually harder to unsee it that way, because that means that you weren't a victim your whole life. You weren't inferiorized. You weren't made to feel this way.
And you're so stuck in your ways um,
Hmm.
it's you're so stuck that it's your natural, not natural
Yeah.
response. For me, for example, I could never. Like when I look at it, and I cannot wrap my head around this type of thinking. Yet I do the opposite. And if you told me, oh, don't do it, it's not like don't do it. It happens. That's my way of coping. It happens, and it's so natural. It's easy. That's the way I know, But for the Enneagram 4, that's a different way. They do it differently. And now I'm scratching my head, like, why is this person doing that? I don't get why they're so like sad or dissatisfied. Like, what the fuck. But it's so natural for us, It's so natural for us
Hmm.
to cope the way we cope, to have the defense
Yeah.
mechanism, to have the neurotic need. Okay. Views are like underwear. You need to change them every day.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, that's a bit too much. That's a bit too much. How could Enneagram 9 identify themselves and their habit of narcotization? Lack of any other neurotic need. You take a step back. So it's hard to just look at your motivation. You look at the behavior. So, okay, what's the pattern of behaviors in my life? How do I deal on my day to day? Okay, you're analyzing it, you're breaking down the behaviors. So you have the behaviors. Now you can start thinking, what could potentially the motive? What am I doing, and why am I doing this way? What's the point of doing it this way? Does that happen when I'm stressed? Does that happen more when I'm stressed? Okay, so it happens more when I'm stressed. Okay, this behavior. What could this behavior mean? Like, okay, I'm losing myself, I'm numbing myself, I don't want to think. Okay, so I don't want to think. Okay, because it's difficult, right? Thinking just is heavy. I don't want to do that. I want to just not think at all. I don't want to deal with anything. You look at the big picture, and how do you know if it's different from depression? Because depression is something that every human can have, and it's not a big part of your personality where it's like your whole neurotic need. It's an affliction that can happen to you, like a disease, but it's just a small part. So look at the big picture, and that's why you look back, analyze, gather information. Finding your type or disconnecting yourself from a neurotic need is not easy. It's not supposed to be easy. You might need time, weeks, months, but you will get there. You just need to detach as a third perspective and look into behaviors. It's not as simple as, oh, let me think about my motivations. Nah, that's bullshit. Because you can have motivations that are very conscious. They're not the same. They're not the same. Okay? I can have 10 different motivations. That's not the fucking thing. A psychological drive, it happens up subconsciously, deep down beneath. So we have to almost deconstruct it like a fucking therapist. No different than a therapist. Sit down, analyze like a clinical individual. Okay, what behaviors are there? What do I do? How do I do it? Why would I do it? And then you will break it down. That's how I would go about it. Bellis Marvelas. Any opinions on ESC Sexual One? Ring, what do you think about this combination?
I think there's a lot of stronger combinations to consider before you even get to sexual one
Yeah,
for
so it's kind of
ESC.
like there are better combinations, so why ESC to begin with?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you should really go through. I feel like there's a lot more stronger combinations. But I'd like to hear your overall thoughts on why you're considering it.
Do you guys think traumatizing people you type is a good typing strategy? Yeah. Yeah, that's why
Unfortunately,
everyone
you're
I
correct.
type is traumatized. No, but
Yep.
as they will show, they're like, yeah, push their buttons,
He's
find
not
out.
wrong.
Nah, this is evil. This is just,
It's fucked up, but he's not wrong.
this is a bit of sadism. I feel like you could pressure them in a sense to see what you don't want to traumatize them, obviously, like,
Oh, don't do it. It's not
but
worth
you
it.
could pressure
What's the
them maybe
game?
to see how they would do it. But
It's not worth it.
I just oh, if I call him a cunt and he yells at me, I know he's an Enneagram 8 because he's an ape. It's like, I don't know, like sure you might get it, but I feel like yeah, just ask questions. Just ask questions.
Everyone's goal with Enneagram is to help themselves and others transform for the better. And if by trying to help them transform by finding their Enneagram type makes their situation worse, then effectively it is ineffective.
Yeah.
So don't do
Yeah, you need,
that.
yeah, that's, yeah.
So there's no point. It's illogical. Because okay, you could say, well, it helps me find their Enneagram type better. But what is the point of finding their Enneagram type if you're making their situation actively worse?
Yeah. So you hate the majority of typology community. I don't know if I don't know if this was what this was in relation to. I'm drawing 16 key characters designs from this. Do you think for a socialite I would want like a pirate? Like a
Ooh.
pirate would be kind of cool. A bandit or like a motorcycle club leader or something, because that's where the social 8 themes really stand out. But that's my idea. What's social 7? What do you think, Ring?
If you're going for like an idealized like art style, then I definitely think for Social Seven you should put in Christian imagery, and that is because the Social Seven is not really is well represented by sacrifice, but also it's because the Social Seven wants to reflect Christian imagery of sacrifice. They actively idealize it themselves. Now, if you're trying to draw like a real life Social Seven, it will look not even idealized because social sevens are actively like materialistically humble and they don't put themselves out there in that way. So you just draw a dude with a fucking hoodie or some shit. And so it's not as fun. So I would say do the idealized version. Maybe like one that's trying to put like a halo on their head or some shit, or trying to like attach
Wow.
wings to themselves, but they're actually
Wow.
just like some sort of like yeah. That's what I would say.
Fuck me. I'm gonna get upset. Okay. I have a question. As someone who has been typed as an SCE, you have been typed as an SCE by me even. I find myself attracted or even amazed by people who type ILI and II. Is this because they're my duals? Or is this unrelated? I think it's because they're your duals in a sense, but I don't, you know, I feel like you're most likely into more introverted, more passive, more mysterious people. So whoever kind of fits that profile might be someone you will find attractive. But this doesn't necessarily mean it will be ILI and IEI. It's kind of like, yeah, I prefer introverted women. So, or introverted, more passive, or right. So okay, that's kind of the general picture you get. But that doesn't necessarily mean because your dual is an IER or an ILI. How does online behavior relate to Big Five? Someone who doesn't talk a lot to people in real life but talks to many people. I don't know how to even. Ring, what do you think about this question?
Let me see it visually. Well, where is it Paul's question? How does online behavior relate to Big Five?
Yeah, like yeah.
So like someone who doesn't talk a lot about people IRL but talks to many people online, for example, I think that's fine. I think you just have social anxiety, and having social anxiety doesn't mean that you're going to be like introverted in Big Five. To me, honestly,
But
if
he's saying
you,
if you talk to a lot of people on the internet but don't talk to anyone in real life, does that
I
does that
it,
how does that
yeah, sorry, yeah.
relate to extroversion in Big Five?
I'm not a huge Big Five guy, honestly. I think you're gonna give a better answer. But to me, I think that if you're gonna be extroverted anywhere, you're gonna
Yeah,
be an extrovert. You just have social anxiety in real
it's
life.
true. Yeah,
That's my perspective, but you probably know better.
you do know yourself better, guys. Um, you guys are funny. Oh, okay. It was when you were saying that you hate people who twist characters. I feel like it's not everybody. It's certain. There are certain people who fucking get off on distorting people's character. Um, it's. I don't think it's the whole community. Although I do admit that it's a lot. It is a lot. um, and it's to the point where they create a version of you that doesn't exist, which is, I mean, fuck, it's pretty insane. It's like a mental asylum thing. But you are right that probably a lot of people in typology do this, which is a problem. I think we should always try to strive to assess people's character as genuinely, as honestly as possible. That's my thing. If I'm gonna judge someone's character, or not even judge their character, but look at who they are and try to analyze them, I'm not gonna be making shit the fuck up. I'm not gonna be coping like a little bitch and adding, saying things about someone that I don't fucking like, and because he makes me feel small and shit. I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna try to be as honest as possible about the person and who they are on the inside, at least to my knowledge and to what I see. So I have no fucking tolerance for anything else, because to me it shows lack of values, it shows lack of character, it shows you're a fucking rat. To me it means you're a rat if you are willing to do that. You just so yeah.
I'll be right back.
Okay, man. Any thoughts on? We talked. I mean, I told you about this on my page. The VEFL and VLFE. VLFE is is completely ridiculous. So we can already remove that. Like for physics, completely unbothered, doesn't catch the last step on the prioritization list. It makes zero sense. Like it shouldn't even be. I'm not even being rigid. Shouldn't be even discussed, right? VEFL. Okay, I understand where it's coming from, and it's an interesting take because I even was like, oh, what about the SE? Maybe SE can fit VEFL. Now with the Enneagram 8, there's a big fucking glaring problem. It's this third physics and its insecurity. It's hard to justify Enneagram 8's relationship with physics and to say that it's somehow insecure or it's weak. I would actually say it's not possible. I wish this combination was possible because it would be really fun. It would be really, really fun. But I don't see it. I fucking don't see it. In nearly every webtoon I've read, when there is a CEO, they are almost always. Yeah, man. Many SP3 CEOs, many SP3 entrepreneurs, many SP3 businessmen. Whoo! Those people do go far in life.
I'm back.
Welcome back. How does one integrate their shadow functions? Well, by not giving a fuck about those shadow functions, because I don't know what a shadow function even is. But I'm telling you, you're taking this concept from MBTI and you should not. Okay? Listen, you are probably new on my channel. I have made socionics videos. Watch them. Read about them. And because socionics is much better, you will love this stuff and it will make more sense. I know shadow functions, you're confused because like people tell me about shadow functions. What does that mean? No one knows what that means. That's the problem. In socionics, everything is well defined. 8 elements, you use all 8, you just use them differently, and that's it. So you can always Google classic socionics, you will get a website, click on that website. But you can also watch my videos. So, but no, we don't do shadow functions. Ice says VEFL 8 is possible. I don't dislike Ice equally. I really like many of his portraits of the types, of the subtypes. I know people don't like him, but I thought he was very informative. Do I agree with this? I don't agree with this. I know why he thinks this. It's probably 1V plus 3F suddenly becomes Giga Chad. Right? So super, but come on, man.
That's true. Look at me.
Exactly, but But no, it's you cannot become so giga Chad. You have zero difficulty. Like it's that's not a thing. It's not a thing. What about E8 1F? I'm not very strong believer of 8 and other volition positions other than 1V. Yeah, and, I mean, it's kind of like this. Oh, let's look at physics. Can you make 1F work with 8? Well, yes, you can make 1F work with 8. It's a question then of what do you do with a volitional placement and why are you starting with physics? Right? So we always start with volition. That's first. So yeah, isolated, sure you could make one Enneagram 8 fit 1F. Not a problem. I'm not a strong believer. But what about social 8 FVLE? So my take on this comment is I think there's a misunderstanding of second will. It's quite passive and still pays a lot of attention and it's still quite malleable. In many ways, kind of similar to the fourth volition, right? The difference is that it's strong. It knows what it wants and it has no issue for fighting for it. But it's hard for me to imagine an Enneagram 8 whose whole ego structure is around dominance and intensity and punitiveness and lust, right? That is derived from challenging themselves against others and imposing their will to be something like second will. It's very weird. But even if you say, well, the social 8 is different, I'll tell you something. This is a prediction. And let's see if I'm correct. If I'm not correct, I'm going to be the first one to tell you. Okay? I will be the first one to tell you. Social 8 will become the most 1V Enneagram 8 relative to every single Enneagram. That's what I believe. According to syntax, if you look at syntax of love definition of 1V, social 8 is going to be the most 1V subtype in the 8 sphere. So the reason why I'm saying this is they will not become more 2V. They will become more 1V. And people will realize that. They will see a lot of authoritarian qualities with this type. They'll see a lot of imposing their truth on the world, their fucking will on the world, and making sure everyone adheres to it, as a passenger in a sense. So yes, they're very helpful. They care about loyalty, brotherhood, but make no mistake. And if you see kind of a lot of the examples, they're very authoritarian. They're very authoritarian. It might not seem like it, but when you try to test them, you'll see that they're very authoritarian, and it's not gonna. So I think it will fit a lot of syntax of love 1V hallmarks, So we'll see how that goes. But again, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'm willing to fucking accept it. Any thoughts? Oh.
First, you're talking about me? Oh, okay.
Any thoughts on 3E ESI? Listen, I know it's a controversial topic. I typed my wife 3E, and I'm sorry I couldn't really type 1E. And I'm not gonna type my wife something else when she copes about emotions and vulnerability and not expressing them more than I do, the 8 core. So I cannot do that. I cannot be like, oh shit, you just want an E. I don't feel it. I don't feel it. I think it makes sense. If you read ESI, ESP4, I think it makes sense, But that's my opinion. Some people on the server disagree with it, and that's fine. They can disagree with it, Everyone has their own opinions at the end of the day. So, what do you think about that, Ring, though?
Oh yeah, like I said, I have a really, really moderate perspective to correlationism. Like I think that being anti-correlationism is not great. I think being rigidly correlated is not great. I think that if you can make a good argument for EVFL or FVEL and fit it to the subtype, you should roll with it, honestly, because these systems were not made to fit with each other, and because of that, there's always going to be holes. Even if you just say right now SP4 is 1E only, and there's going to be so many different holes that you're going to have to plug up. Okay, that means it's 2V, then that means it's 3F, and then it's like 3F for SP4 feels kind of awkward. And it becomes this kind of like problem where the psychotype is never going to fully work with the Enneatype. So I think that you should go by whatever works for you personally. as long as fundamental rules are
That's
not being violated. Like we're not going to say 1L is not going to be SP4, right?
yeah,
Like that's
yeah.
stupid.
And that's he's right. You are in ESI SP4 100%, right? I've typed you twice on a questionnaire ESI as ESI. And if you read it and you relate to it, I'm not gonna fight you. I'm not. Again, I type my wife 3E. I'm certain she is a fucking EII, because if she wasn't EII, she'd be an EI. If she wasn't in ESI, she'd be an EII, which then 3E would make even less sense. But she certainly is a 3E individual, and it's funny to see me. She would also often just make me never type 3E, because the difference between us is huge in that realm. But I understand why some might type me 3E, especially when I was not as healthy. I understand the logic. But type as that. Type as what you want. Type as what you want, especially if you I'm a big advocate for people typing what they believe they are, as long as they do the right research. Don't get this as me saying, I don't care, type was that. No. Do the proper research. Spend few months on that. Really dwell there. Become knowledgeable enough to have the confidence to say, okay, I just can't fit anything else, and that's fine. Trust me, they do this shit to me too. I need to be VFEL, and no matter how much I try to justify that combination with rain beside me, we can't. Okay, same thing, and same. Many people would say, I don't give a fuck. I don't, because I'm sorry. That's who I am. That's what I fit, and the book is gonna confirm that. So, truth will prevail always in the end. Don't worry. Do your
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, Russ and I were talking right before this stream, and I was explaining to him I was talking to another community member, and it just dawned on me. We were talking about social seven and psychotype, the
Psycho
psychotype
79.
correlations for it, and it just dawned on me that every single real example of social seven, people ask me, "Oh, is social seven VLEF? Is it VLFE?" And it dawned on me that every example of social seven in real life just comes across like they have 4E and 4F at the same time. I have not seen a social 7 example that truly definitively came across as 3E or 3F. And that's a good example of where you could say in PY the first volition placement is affecting it and then making it more results. But I think that just goes to show that like you can't get a one-to-one perfectly. When you look at the theory, 3E does look a little bit better than 3F, but at the same time, the social 7 feels like it struggles with all these emotions, but it's also this archetype of being this social chameleon community seducer who's not a 3. So it's weird. And that's why these systems were not made to fit with each other. And I think that there shouldn't be an expectation that when we do have a correlation that it's going to be 100%, because it's never going to be that way. And that's kind of like the way I currently see psychotypes in the correlations.
The blight as how can SP5? I don't like. Yeah, I don't even know how 2F is supposed to work in this type though. So, do you have an explanation for this?
Yeah, I can. I don't know how I feel about it, and this is kind of goes back to like the psychotype, enneatype like correlations.
Yeah.
The way it's supposed to work is that the 2F is supposed to be subservient to the 1L, where you create this person who's still dogmatic, who's still rigid with their thoughts, their opinions, their mind, but they utilize their physics to acquire resources, materials to ensure their logic. So it kind of looks like the cave aspect of the E5, in particular SP5. It's kind of like how it's sexual 5 people are like, oh, that's LE, right? It's same way where the E is being subservient to the L. So it paints a different picture, because if you look at it individually, it doesn't make sense. 2F for SP5 doesn't make sense, but if you look at LFEV, it does make a little bit more sense, especially with the fourth volition making everything once again results, but also a lot more laid back, less decisive, less confident, more likely to take the background. So together, there's some substance to it. Individually, outside of 3E and 4V, and 1L, like the 2F doesn't feel as good. But yeah, if anyone has any other ideas for what SP5 would be psychotype wise, just don't tell me it's It's FLEV. FLEV. I don't like that either. Because SP5 doesn't feel like
Yeah.
a 2L type either.
No. It's you have to just understand that PY is kind of shit. PY is kind of shit, and we work with what we have been given. That's it. You know.
Yeah.
That's it.
Have reasonable expectations about these correlations. Because, yeah, once you start poking at it, there's always going to be flaws. Always.
Of course. So it's funny you're asking me about Negan because today I was teaching ChatGPT some things. You know, I was kind of feeding ChatGPT some information about subtypes, and I asked about Negan Smith, one of the characters that I was asking, and it did confirm what I was thinking already. You know, because I was contemplating social aid for Negan, and when it broke it down pretty well. So we have someone who definitely strives in the social environment, right? Wants to be on top of the hierarchy. He portrays himself as a protector of his people, you know? Oh, but there's a duality. He protects those people, but they obey him, right? There's is a complete authoritarian attitude towards those people. And obviously, any sign of disloyalty is punished severely. Like that, we know that, right? Any attempt at getting power from him is also butchered. So he makes people very subservient to him. He offers them protection, right? And it's kind of like, we will do this shit to you. We will rob towns. We will try to convert people. If you want to get protection, you can join us. If not, they get decapitated. Um, um, Even when he meets Rick, I think that's because of retribution. He meets him because Rick fucked up his men, killed his men. So he's doing kind of, okay, let's show everyone why we have to be cruel, and because this is how this world works. You have to be cruel. Use fear as a strategy to make them scared. Kill two people, make an example of them so no one will disobey. But this is someone who creates codes, who creates a certain code of how you should be like and what you shouldn't do or what you should do. This is not a sexual aid, you know. Obviously, he has this group called the Saviors. Again, he sees himself as one who is doing everything that he can to save his people, even doing the stuff that no one else wants. I think he's a pretty good example of a social aid in terms of his way of navigating. It's kind of fucked up, but unhealthy version of me, you just need to. Unhealthy version of me, just think Negan Smith, when he was decapitating motherfuckers. That's me. That's perfect example of, if you want to imagine me as unhealthy, motherfuckers decapitated left and right. So that's how this shit works, okay? But I do think he's a socialite. Yeah, there's just no reason to believe he's a sexual. Why is Negan's neurotic about sexual shit? He never gave a fuck about that sexual instinct. You know, it's all about people. It's all about managing the frame, the environment. You know, his structure that he has. There was some other questions I wanted to answer. Do you think a conflict combo in a relationship like SP4 and Social 4 very fucking bad? And I'm gonna tell you very bad, not because it's SP4 and Social 4, because that doesn't tell me anything, but knowing that Social 4 is related to EII and SP8 is related to NSLE, we're talking about a conflicting dynamic here, the worst of the worst. So absolute dog shit is how it would manifest. Absolute fucking dog shit. And not because of Enneagram, but because of socionics correlation. Because obviously in Enneagram there's no such thing as antitype stuff. Yeah. Why Enneagram 8 SI ignoring? I keep hearing this quite often. Why Enneagram SI ignoring? Because SI ignoring has no idea, it doesn't need to push its hedonism. I think I'm going to explain it from my own understanding as an Enneagram 8 and as an SE, someone who is SI ignoring. Enneagram 8 is not as hedonistic as you might think. And this is not just as someone who wants to live for the fucking pleasure of doing fuck all and just chilling and just enjoying and doing that. I don't believe that, you know. I think Enneagram 8 has more to do, if you look at them, it's more to do with overcoming. So more to do with imposing your will. It's not about let me be a potato, let me be fucking comfortable and just feel good and doing that shit all the time. You know, I'm not saying they can't have a good time, but at the end of the day, they need purpose, and this purpose, it is to have overcome the odds, to push against something that makes them feel alive. That fits SC base, and I don't see how that would be I don't see why that wouldn't be SI ignoring. A type that can, when it's time and it's appropriate, can enjoy hedonism, and also a time that can put in the work and not give a fuck about such things. I don't see why that wouldn't work, you know. Hey Rust, Cirque, what do you think about LSI Social 6? Maybe, yeah. I mean, PY wise, it fits way better than 3F, obviously. Ring, what are your thoughts on EFS Social 9?
EFS. This is young. This is like I don't
what you were doing.
I don't want to do young.
You knew what you were doing, you sneaky.
I don't want to do
young. You were sneaky with
Give me a sociotype, and even then,
give him
I
a
feel like
sociotype.
you're not gonna get the answer you want
because he's not a man of correlations. Your wife is an ESI. I thought she was an IEI. Well, she is, and she's an IEI in Western. You know, everyone typed the IEI, and if I follow like Western understanding, yeah, she'd be an IEI. But she's not IEI in classic socionics, which is a common theme. Many of the IEIs in Western socionics, which is pretty much like most people, are simply ESIs and EIIs. Very common, especially the artists and shit like that. So that's happen all the time. Looking down, looking at Tamisa, does not consider. Thanks guys for the feedback. Of course, I'm very confident on being 4L and 2V. Most people say I'm 1E. Nah, and that's the thing. And again, type whatever you want. There's no issue whatsoever. You know yourself best here. You know? Let me see. I just got a message. Okay. Very funnily enough, I feel I fed ChatGPT all the information about there is from Naranjo and others. What argumentation did ChatGPT provide? You know.
And what did you provide in terms of information about yourself? That's so interesting.
Because you're giving information about the A, but you need to give information. I generally wouldn't type yourself with it, you know. Characters are better, figures are better, but even then, take it with huge grain of salt. And for me is when I read it and like, okay, I see it, because I would type them as that, that's fine. But sometimes they come up with the weirdest takes.
Yeah, I really don't like this trend of using AI to make these type of decisions you when it really should come from yourself. I like summarizing things with AI. I like to get an alternative perspective if I'm missing a friend. But at the end of the day, I am very distrustful for AI for anything I actually care about. So just be careful before you start subscribing to information willy-nilly because AI did it for you.
Yeah, no, and AI makes flops, makes huge mistakes, simple mistakes often. Where sometimes I've seen some people be typed as that, like sexual aid Donald Trump. I just don't see it. I just don't see it. And it's kind of like, well, he's dominant and wants to dominate the environment. And it shows you the superficial understanding of sexual aid by ChatGPT. And it's not ChatGPT's fault because they don't have the book. But it's not very nuanced, you know? So what do you think of Napoleon being social too? I agree. I agree. I was looking more into him for the past, I don't know, a month. I could see why he would be like a social 2 and not an 8. He's the truth is was he was as an 8 myself reading that he was a circle jerker of the highest order. Like, and that goes beyond just I'm prideful. It goes to the point where he was so fixated on his legacy since he was young, leaving legacy, not even when he's alive, but legacy for when he's gone, which is the weirdest thing. I personally don't even understand the point of that. But okay. And second, him constantly painting himself as this military genius, having his own paintings, kind of creating an image of a person who is amazing. He created an image. He manipulated the media. He was make sure the media was censored and controlled by him. This is someone who was amazing at crafting a certain image, and he loved to jerk himself off.
That's why I'm a social 2.
No, but he was he was someone who had to be in the center. Even when he says, "Guys, you all did amazing." You knew at the end of the day it was him who was responsible. He made it sure that you know it. He fits all of it. He fits all of it. And compare that to 8, for me, I just don't care about such stuff, And I've seen even if you compare someone else, a great like Genghis Khan, there's also such a big difference there. Both did amazing things like this, but they approach their image completely differently. And I feel like it's kind of telling for the social 2 when it comes to Napoleon. Napoleon. What would you say are the 3 subtypes that fit the most? SP7?
Some sort of E7 for IE seems to be the best fit.
E7, but section 7 sometimes is... I know it exists, yeah. I know it does exist, yeah. But 7... social 3 looks really good when it comes to the super ego. Like, it looks so fucking good. But I'm not sure how you'd... It just looks so good. With the social 3 looks so good with the super ego. My god. But I'm not completely... I'm not sure of the combination. I haven't really sat down and read about. Ring, your thoughts about ESC Social 9 revised?
Yes. Well, this is really interesting because there's now this assumption that EFS and ESC are 1-to-1, but I'm gonna ignore that just for the sake of simplicity. It's better than what we heard earlier today with Sexual 1 and ESC. I'm not 100% sure that is going to be your best bang for your buck. I think that there is kind of like I think that when it comes to role TE that I've noticed with ESEs, that feels really good with E2. And there is a lot of like capabilities. I'm able to do these things. I'm able to provide this for you that I feel like works really well with ESEs. And I think especially with role TE. I feel like the social 9 kind of lacks a bit of that. I feel like ESEs generally come across like they have kind of like an ego. Like they expect more out of themselves and they feel like they're capable of a lot more. And the social 9 doesn't really act in that way, not as from my recollection. I think that it's not bad. If you really think that you're an ESC and a social 9, go for it. But I think that you would really look into E2 and even E3 before that.
Thank you. That's a great fucking explanation. Spurden Bennis, Typology is literally, for most people, LARP character customization. Like, I kind of look like 8.
So true.
One, and I shrug off 6.
So true.
Very true, and
correct.
Very true, and it's really funny because to really highlight the way I'm an 8. So as you can imagine, no one wants me to be an Enneagram 8 because they seem to think it's a Sigma cool type and only like people who are cool can be that type. So being this type is pretty fucking weird. I had one person come to my comment section and says, "Whoa, why are you censoring people? You're not an 8. An 8 would never give a fuck about doing this kind of thing. You're a 6 core or a 7 core." So first of all, I didn't censor him, whoever he was, right? So that's first. I didn't block him. If I block someone on my YouTube account, it's probably a fucking degenerate troll who's spamming horseshit, complete fucking horseshit, which should be decapitated on sight. But no, he did not get censored. Claims he did. Cool story. No idea who he is. But he says, so only an 8 would censor comments because like a 6 would. A 6 would or 7. So the funniest thing ever, I took a quote from Character in the Roses. Basically, I copy pasted this quote saying that the Enneagram 8 will have judgments and critical judgments of everyone else, and they will feel entitled to judge everyone else and be critical, but they will never tolerate being criticized themselves. And it was the funniest thing for me to paste that fucking shit for a person who's like, oh, because you assuming, right, you're cringy edgelord, you cringe and you deleted my comment, you must be a 6. I'm sorry, guys. 8s are really cringe, and if anyone would do kind of this shit, it's an 8. Okay? Like, do you think when Genghis Khan was alive and people were talking shit or like trying to defame him and make him look bad, he just said, "I don't care. It's fine with me"? No, I'm pretty sure he actually
he's just a chill guy.
He was just a chill. I swear he did not kill them and torture them. And sometimes it would even kill whole towns for that. I swear that's not what happened. So, and and this is very obviously seen, you know. 6 is when you're reactive and you're sensitive and you're cringe. 8 is when you are rebelling only if it's logical. Only if it makes sense, and if someone insults you, you just don't care. You're not a reactive type, by the way. You are a very reasonable, very self-controlled person, aka Enneagram 8, which seems people flipped it. You know, you wanna, I don't know, you know, but I just think it's stupid, and it paints most importantly, it paints the types in the wrong way. A 6 is not an ape. A 6 is not a cringy. Oh. They're rational people, you know. They are rational people. They will act like rational people. So it's sad to see that. And I have friends who are Enneagram 6, so it's very sad to see this type of shit. Napoleon ESC. Napoleon ESC is a scary thought, but no, he's an. I type him as E. Yeah.
Controversial opinion, I do think ESCs make decent conquerors. I just think it's unlikely in the other sociotypes. I mean, look at these people. They know how to manage people.
Yeah,
they know how to manage.
Listen, I think you can say that they make for great conquerors, and that's true. But you know what you're saying? You're not saying back then, because I don't believe that there were many ESC successful conquerors. ESCs are conquerors now. And what I mean by that is not because they're aggressive, they're expensive in their territory. No. They're the most successful celebrities in the world. The most successful and influential people alive. In a sense, they're conquerors. They're conquerors of social media, of people, of the social impact, for sure. You know, I do think that. But they're no fucking conqueror, you know. They're no back then fighting to expand. A conqueror has a mentality of let's decapitate as much as we can and let's take as much shit as we can. This type of mentality generally is not going to operate within the fucking ESC's framework, you know? They're not going to be thinking, okay, so I am meant to be sent by God himself to bring justice and vengeance on the world by expanding my influence and my power. The more the better, right? Anyone gets in my way gets decapitated. It's not an ESC, you know? I wouldn't be surprised that there are conquerors who are ESCs, but I would believe that the way they go about those things is very different. That would be my kind of take. I feel like they're conquerors of this day and age. That's what I would think. Veru, how did you realize you're a social 8 and not a sexual 8? If I was 19, you met me when I was 18, 19. You told me about Enneagram, and you showed me all the subtypes. I would tell you 100% social 8, billion%. I would be like, yeah, 100 million%. Right? But down the line, something, I became more unhealthy. Life happened. So deterioration of psyche happened, right? It was hard for me to know because I typed as a sexual 8. Believe it or not, when I found out about Enneagram, I was already or much older, and I thought I was a sexual 8. That was in the period where I was more unhealthy. Fucked up timing, right? Fucked up timing. And it was really funny because I was obviously like very group involved, very people involved, and I was like so paranoid. This mother, well, why is this person talking to this guy? Like, why is this person in my server, who's in my inner circle, talking to this fucking dude? I don't like him and I don't trust him. Is she like, are they betraying me? What the fuck, So I was thinking I'm a sexual 8, behaving like a fucking authoritarian social 8. That's what happened, right? Oh, people are fucking, you need to be on my side, hyper, right? But the way I realized is, honestly, when I started to become more healthy, that's when it kind of made sense to me. I was becoming kind of who I always was, in a sense, I was, and I saw the pattern. I looked back, okay, I cannot exist without a group. I cannot exist without being involved in a community in some type of way. What does that say about me? Okay, what about, being a teenager wanting to be a leader of a group, and idolizing brotherhood, idolizing honor, and idolizing those things. What about that? I used to always be into that. So I looked back at the pattern and I'm like, me being provocative, me being domineering, me being mean, does that justify sexual 8? I might have sexual instinct in me, so that might maybe makes things more confusing, but why does that make me a sexual 8? So after a while I just realized, fuck, dude, I care all about all of the things that a social 8 would care about. I was in library in Raven server, going around neurotically trying to, because I found out there was a snake in the server. There was someone. I was not like a leader of the, but I was like I was a mod or an admin. I was an admin, I think, but I found out someone was snaking information. Someone was getting information from the inside to outside. I did not appreciate that at all. I was very fucking angry, very angry, because it was a rat, someone who's hiding in the bushes, and oh my god, they were lucky because I was like, yeah, if I knew them, decapitation on site for that rat behavior. So I was doing all of the social 8 shit. I was going around and doing all of this social 8 shit, even when I was typing as a sexual 8 in library, right? Being like, you fucking betrayed me. I cut multiple people off. You fucking betrayed me, motherfucker. You did not defend my friend. So go fuck yourself. Kicked people from my own private server. Did that shit. People who were my friends. But I removed them because they showed disloyalty. And to me that was unacceptable. It's fucking unacceptable. So it was so stupid. You're like, you just typing yourself sexual 8, but then you have all of those behaviors that scream a lot of like complicity. So yeah, I feel like, to be honest, I feel like it should have been fucking obvious. I mean, Ring, what do you think? Should it be obvious?
Should your any type be obvious?
No, should like me being a social 8, do you think, as
No. Yeah, for sure. Because the reality is everything that he does, if he's not here, he's on the server talking to someone, drumming up something. If he's not on the server, he's on PDB, he's making a post, he's informing people, and he's back over here, he's making a YouTube video. He's always engaging with you people, and he think that that's going to be something he's neurotically fixated towards. He's not like an Aaron Yeager. He's not a sexual 8. He doesn't like shrug people off and do his own thing and only interact with people and kind of like semi semi-healthier, non-neurotic way where it's, yeah, I'll hang out with you if I feel like it in an outside,
Yeah.
people's ranges, when he doesn't. Like, we're talking to someone who's neurotically fixated in his attachments, his relationships, the people around him. And that's very social instinct. I think he's a good, obvious example.
Yeah. Thank you. That helps. Becoming your friend. It was really, yeah, because you're really good with Enneagram, and being around you, you are so close to me, obviously, like um, yeah, you're one of my closest friends. So you see
Wait, I
everything.
love hearing that.
You get enough of it.
This is
But
so
yeah, you're one
sweet.
of my
Oh my
closest
god.
friends, and you are part of our group, for sure. And that's why I like you, because yeah, I trust your fucking judgment. But nowadays I don't have any doubts, to be honest. Once I got back to Enneagram fundamentalism, I don't have
Hashtag.
really any doubts, because I would have to really indulge in some mental gymnastics. That's kind of how I think about it. What do we think about SP2? I'm open to IESP2. I don't know. I'm trying to change my ways. Scorpion says, I noticed you said sexual aid is manipulative. Why do you think so? Isn't sexual aid all about fighting against social norms and being completely authentic? Well, that's kind of works under an assumption that the sexual aid wants to always be authentic. I mean, says who? I mean, sexual aid wants to feel like they are in a position of power over you. Yeah, right? In a state of possession over you, say in a way where they're the only authority and they don't answer to anyone. Why would they need to be authentic? They don't have to be authentic. In fact, the sexual aid, I think, a great example of this. You should watch this movie. You like it. It's called Speak No Evil. Speak No Evil has an example of a sexual aid who really portrays this manipulative, polite, disgusting, transgressive person who will make you feel uncomfortable by testing your boundaries and pushing the envelope further and further while being charming and being disarming and being seductive. And that's the sexual aid. Don't get fooled. This is not just a person who is gonna show you, I don't give a fuck, I'm a band. No, they can disarm you. They can make sure to know you, to find your weakness, and then they'll fucking exploit that shit. They'll possess it, just like in the movie Speak No Evil. Perfect as sexual aid movie. A guy found two weak-willed individuals and he exploited them. By testing their boundaries, they were such pushovers. He slowly but surely took control of them, and they couldn't do anything. In the end, he just fucking forced his way. So, yeah. What do you think are the best jobs for ESIs? TRL can be helpful in technical fields, social. Public sector, I think probably somewhere in the governmental job. Accounting, I think accounting can be good. What do you think about Homelander? No, no. That's a scary thought. That's a very scary thought. Why no one cares about Enneagram? I don't want to say no one cares about Enneagram, but
Oh, I don't think so at all. I
yeah,
actually think that unless you're like deep into the socionics like community, and there's some people who are like that. I've seen it on Discord. I think Enneagram is probably one of the
yeah,
most like invested, debated, argued, like, it gets people going. Like typing someone like SLE or ESI or LIE, that's
yeah,
fun and all. But you type someone a sexual eight and you get eight people
yeah,
fucking arguing you about
yeah.
it.
It's
It's crazy.
way more like investing. People invested in it.
Yeah.
I think it's more fun. I think it goes deeper, more nuanced. I like socionics, but I love Enneagram. Ah, Probably because I like psychology. I like that kind of trying to figure out the patterns behind humans in terms of like in a clinical sense, like a robot looking down at something and trying to break it down. I think it's super entertaining, you know. Yoros, we need explaining positions like mobilizing, not elements. Does Ring have a channel? That Ring does not have a channel.
Nope.
He has a PDB page if you're interested in his page to see some of his stuff. Although I'm not sure if he posts there. Not as active. He's quite busy.
Yeah, it's really hard to juggle everything. But I thought this was a great point to bring it up. I've been working on this side project, and it's about taking socionics and using it for transformation. And I feel like there's a lot of potential in that, but it's not utilized enough in the way that we use Enneagram, where transformation is the name of the game. Socionics, there's like a yes, you are this sociotype, but the idea of using the way you perceive the world to transform yourself for the better, I think that's great. And I'm trying to conceptualize right now what that would look like, and if there's a way to start, like, okay, well, definitely you want to work on your superego, you definitely want to work, and of course that's true, but there's even parts that you can work on your ego block as well, where you can be too authoritative or too stubborn on. So I really like this idea of transformational socionics. So I might be working on that, so just want to give everyone a sneak peek on that.
Beautiful. Keep us updated. We will keep you updated, guys, anyway.
Like, if we have a second, an example of this is actually from my real life. I remember that I had a friend a couple of years ago, and we agreed, well, I'm gonna come to your house at 2 p.m., right? But in my head, I was just like, what's the difference between 3 p.m., 4 p.m., or even 5 p.m.? They're gonna be home all day. I don't necessarily have to get there, so I'll just go on my own pace when it's comfortable for me. So I would end up being 2, 3, even sometimes 4 hours late, because in my mind, I was like, there's no difference if I come here and now. And then my friend had to sit me down and tell me, I find it disrespectful that you don't value my time and that I'm sitting there waiting for you. Even though I'm not doing anything with my day, I don't want to wait for you when we agreed upon doing it at this time. And my authoritative and I asked was just like, why? What does it mean? It doesn't make a difference. But then I thought about it. I was actively disrespecting my word and our relationship. So I wasn't really thinking about how my actions affected them and our relationship. So that was actually FI information I received from them, which allowed me to moderate my ego and made ego block, which was TENI, and be like, yes, it doesn't really make a difference from a TENI perspective, but what it does do is that if I honor this agreement with my friend, I get to strengthen our relationship. And in that way, it kind of gave me the idea of transformative socionics, where we can work on our blind spots, or even where we're stubborn and rigid and authoritative, and how we can moderate that to better fit with people. So that's an idea that I've been working with.
Wow. Very LIE. Very
Mm-hmm.
LIE of you.
I was like, what's the difference? Now, all the time, when I say I'm going to be on time with something, I'll be like, yes, I'll be there exactly on the time. Not early, because I hate being early, and not late, because I don't want to be disrespectful, but exactly on time. And that's something that, like, will stay with me forever, because I don't want to disrespect my relationship with people. So I think that it's very interesting to use socionics in that way.
That's commendable. Hopefully more people do that kind of shit. Yes, Ring is not an ILE.
Nope. I am LIE, Social 7 VLFE.
You don't exist.
I could potentially be VLEF by mental hierarchy. I want to add that.
Yeah,
But
by mental hierarchy, I am VFEL.
So it depends on what
mental
you just
hierarchy,
said
we're
to.
very different.
I know,
A bit
right?
different. But this question, do you relate to the mother? So, I never had to protect my mom from my father. I will tell you simply, my father and my mother growing up. Father, likely some SLE, SP8, LSC sexual 1, weird thing. Authoritarian, he represented intellect, which makes me think a bit more one core-ish LSC. He represented education, intelligence. You need to be smart. You need to go to school, finish school, go get this degree. And so that, but he was very authoritarian, very fucking choleric as fuck. So high expectations and very choleric, not a good combination. So obviously, that pressure from him on school. I did not like school. I did not grow up liking school, and I related to the social aids relationship with education and the father figure. The father figure represented almost like an institution, intellectualized institutions, stuff like that, patriarchal authority. So the social aid rebels against it, rebels also against the educational system. That's how it was for me. That's I would say that was 1-to-1. That's very accurate. That's how it was. Imagine if I read a book and
Yeah.
it's gonna be fucking written, but fucking 1-to-1. Now with my mom, it's interesting, right? A very intense woman, very intense, very histrionic woman, a woman with no limits in many ways. But I was close to my mom, and I was not really close to my father. Like my father was. I had more negative relationship towards my father in many ways, right? Like stronger feelings. My mom obviously did have fucked up shit too, but I had a closer bond with my mom. Like I was more protective of my mom. I was more, so in many ways I saw it as like I would protect my mom, from any kind of idea. Like if I thought to myself, nah, if my father ever does something against my mom, I'm gonna protect her. I would never fucking allow that for him to fucking do anything to her. So I never did. I never really protected my mom. But I had the mentality. We were close, and I had the mentality that I was very protective of my mom. Very very protective of my mother. So that's kind of so reading what I know about the social aid, at least from what I know, what Naranjo said, I related to it very fucking well. So we'll see. Again, it's this specific father relationship who is kind of the leader of the house. He's the patriarch. He takes charge, and everyone obeys him. So that's kind of the thing. And I feel like that's why I'm so anti-institutions. I don't like authority, or maybe they represent my father figure or something. And even in the educational systems and institutions and shit, the normal ways, I don't like it. I don't like it because I don't know, it's restricting, and maybe I view it as evil too. Like subconsciously I think it's just fucking evil, and maybe they might use it in a bad way. They might use this kind of authority and abuse you. So that's not gonna happen. That's my idea of it.
It's actually so interesting because in the Social Seven childhood, the Social Seven does a very similar thing where they defend the mother against the father as well. But we came out very differently on the other side of that, even though that childhood
Yeah.
occurrence is similar.
No, that's the thing. A childhood occurrence is similar, but I always tell people is the temperament that really, really makes a difference. If my father was my father and I had my whole like normal childhood, but you replaced me with someone else, that doesn't mean that they're gonna think of it, rebel the same way I did, and oppose my father the same way I did. They might have adapted well, and like it was particularly hard because they couldn't control me. It was very difficult to control me, and they did not appreciate that. And I know what they wanted was to help me. That's the thing. It's not like they were like, you cannot fucking do X, Y, and Z. It was more like they wanted good for me, but I didn't really give a fuck because it was their good, not mine. Like you, like it's not me. It's not my. Those are not my wishes. It's not my wishes. Those are your wishes. And you're telling me what to care about. You need to believe, Christianity and God, church. No, never speak bad of the church. Something. I'm so fed up with that. Everyone around me is a sheep. Everyone around me is like, yes, never say bad things about the church, about the religion. Always be a good hard worker. Work from 9 to 5. Be a good fucking slave. So I'm surrounded growing up by this fucking shit. You should be like the other boys here, you see? Make your parents proud. It's like, what? So yeah, now I just don't. I just don't do it. I don't give a fuck what society really. It's not like I'm like a fucking, oh my god, I'm a rebel. It's not like I'm a fucking rebel. I'm a stubborn person, and I want to go my own way. Yeah, that's basically it. OG said primary differences between LVEF and VLV.
Yeah, all you kind of actually pointed out the biggest differences with the type because okay, structurally the difference is the first two the confidence block is already the same. So they're generally focusing on a very similar area. The subset areas that they focus on are slightly different. Like you said, the LVEF has a more passive relationship with physics and an aggressive relationship with emotion. And you can see it. They're more detached materially, but they're more spiritual. Makes sense for a higher E placement. While the LVFE has the exact opposite. They're more attached to being rational and pragmatic as we see a higher F, but they can be a little bit more emotionally dead. I honestly think you kind of answered it yourself right there.
You did. You wanted even a deeper response, but probably will not really get it.
Yeah, it won't get better because then now you're kind of like making things up. You got the general rule right there, you know?
I'm open to FLVE, i.e., not VLFE. Seems fucking weird to me. Camboza. See, interesting. I talked about my childhood a bit, but you know, people act like childhood is super complex. It's really not, because okay, so you have someone, the whole story can be summarized by you have a kid who is in a very maybe oppressive environment, dislikes, then grows up disliking authority or rebels it. He's very hard to control. He's a rebellious person, but obviously every kid is dependent and needy. Every kid wants love and acceptance. They get fucked over, right? They see that the world is harsh. They then adapt a cynical view on the world, okay? Now they go through what we call emotional castration. So they grow to be thick-skinned, okay? Because no one's going to help you if your parents abusing you or whatever abusing you in the school. No one's really going to give a fuck because no one gave a fuck, okay? No one gave a shit. No one's gonna care about you and like, oh, poor you. So you then hate those feelings. You don't like feeling that way. So what happens is emotional castration. It gets removed. It gets transformed into something else. You become more insensitive to yourself. Which is kind of fucked up if you think about it, because you have no empathy for yourself. The reason why you have no empathy for others is because you have no empathy for yourself. Think about how fucked up that is. Like an A doesn't really have strong empathy for the other because they have no empathy for their own suffering. They have no empathy for their own victim. In fact, being a victim is not even acceptable. Oh, you go down the street, you get beaten up by a guy, you're a pussy. You're a fucking bitch. You're not a victim. You're not, oh, you just got assaulted. That's wrong. Why didn't you fuck him up? What happened? That's your fault. You're to blame. And that's the Enneagram 8 mentality. It's not like, oh, wow, wow, if only this happened, I'm so unfair. No, the world is unfair. We already know that. So why did you let this person do this to you? Why? So the 8 childhood is very typical. The typical fucking kid who grows up to be thick-skinned and tough and shit, emotionally kind of tough. And thinks weakness is gay, it's a very typical story. I don't think it's that interesting. It's really, in my opinion, just not that very interesting.
I'm gonna write that down. I never thought about that. If you don't have empathy for others, it means you don't have empathy for yourself. That's
Okay,
something I never really thought about.
how can you have empathy for others if you look at yourself and think, and don't allow yourself to feel a moment of weakness, like a moment of not even weakness, like we're talking about a moment of being human, allowing yourself a feeling of compassion or for something, or emotionality, or a kind of like sadness for something that happened to you, because the voice says the fuck, What are you doing? You're not a victim.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you have no love, and it's fucked up because the eight doesn't love himself. It's so ironic because we like it's so narcissistic. But the truth is, a person who loves himself truly will be good to himself. But the eight really isn't. You know, the eight doesn't love himself. It's very narcissistic. But he doesn't really truly love himself as a very
Yeah.
full, healthy human being. So once you have empathy for yourself and understand, you know what, I went through what I went through, and I wasn't weak. It's not my weakness. It was simply something that happened to me, and I was young. I was a kid. I was growing up. I wasn't ready for the world. That's not my fault. You know, like it's not weak to be that way. And once you understand that, you are able to have empathy for other people who are in a similar situation. You know, maybe they are also fragile and they're dealing with something. So now you're gonna be you can look at it from a lens of like, you know, it's not their fault, you know, but it requires a lot of growth. You know, it really does
Yeah.
require fucking a lot of. I'm 29. I'm 29, and I had this type of thinking until I was 26, 7, 27 maybe. Yeah. I mean, even now I have this type of thinking sometimes. You know, it's not like it's never there. I do it. It's there, but I snap out of it. You know, like now I slip into it, but then I'm like, okay, you know, that's not you. That's what I think.
You know, you ever like learn something and it feels like it just makes sense, and you're like, you might see like maybe it's like a TI or a TE thing for you. It's like, wow, that makes perfect sense. There's so much clarity around that. That's a perfect system of understanding
Yeah,
something, right?
yeah, yeah.
What you said, like in an FI way, did the same thing for me. That was like my perfect clarity
Wow. So you had
system.
like an enlightenment
I was like,
moment.
whoa, that makes way too much sense. You know, it's like a perfect closed loop system that just like checked for
Yeah, right.
itself. I was
But
like,
it
whoa.
makes sense, right?
Yeah, it really does.
Like because and people don't. I don't think many people know this about the eight.
Yeah.
Just
Mhm.
and that's not even eight. It's human. And if you don't, and it's
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
and but it's kind of similar to if you don't respect yourself, you will probably let other people disrespect you. And in the same sense, the eight has a similar attitude. It's a bit different, but they have no sensitivity for themselves where they should. I think it's good to when you're grieving to say, I mean, imagine someone you love dies, and I think it's very good to acknowledge it, cry it out, and really fucking just be consumed by pain instead of, which happened to me, which instead of nothing happened, you know, moving on.
Mhm.
Everyone dies. It's not that serious. You know, like that's not good. That's not good that you're not showing yourself love by doing this type of shit. You're just kind of like, come on, man. You know, like what the fuck? That's just how this shit works. Move on. And then you're like coping 3 years without knowing about it. You know, like fucked up, traumatizing everyone around you. Little do you know, you're fucking traumatized yourself. But uh, guys, I swear to God, you have to fucking get better with Enneagram. Use it for growth. You know, it's worth it, man. It's worth it. But I want to talk about this, Camboza, kind of connecting with advice and growth. I have an advice for the SP9, and it wouldn't be just connect to your anger. I think that's very like, oh, you found it on a website and you want people to. You should connect with your anger. I feel like what you should do is more so than connect with your anger, connect with your desires. And I know it sounds a bit weird. SP9, I should connect with my desires. That's the advice I would give to my own friend, John, who is a 9.
Shoutouts.
Shout out to John. One of our greatest friends. And I would give this kind of I'll treat like you, John. I would give him advice that he doesn't need to connect with anger. He needs to connect with what he wants, and he needs to connect with what he really needs in life, what he really desires. And so that's important. Connecting with what you want, and you will tell me, I think I know what I want. Yeah, I'm sure you will. But how about I'll tell you, you probably fucking don't. especially if you're mixed in shit. Maybe you're going. Maybe you've been laid out a path that you're following for the last 10 years. You're just taking step by step, following this one path given by you by your parents, given by you by your like fucking 15-year-old self, whatever it might be. Stagnant, not taking chances. Stagnant, not going truly your way. Maybe you have a girlfriend, maybe you have a wife, maybe you have a boyfriend, whatever the fuck you do have. People are influencing. Oh, maybe you should do this. Maybe we can do that. Yeah, sure, we can do that. Whatever you like. You know? You lose yourself and who you are on the inside. So connect with what you truly want. And how to do that? John had that moment too. It was a fucking huge realization. Let me tell you that. Huge one. So it will hit you at some fucking point in your life. But to avoid that, take a step back. Think. Analyze. Think about it. What are you doing with your life? Okay, why are you doing this? If you have no clear answer, that's a red flag. And if your answer is, well, it's because person X, person D, that's already wrong and you already know what to do there. You need to truly find your passion. You need to truly find what you want. Honestly, dude, be a bit more selfish in many ways. Yeah, be a bit more selfish when it comes to your path. I think that's an advice I would give you. So do some soul searching. Take a step back again, like I was telling the other person. Analyze the situation, very nice. And break it down. See where your desires coming from, who's influencing them. And lay down a new path. What do you want to do in life? Not because someone told you should give a fuck about that, or you decided when you were young. What do you want right now? Or maybe you're a fan of, I don't know, welding. Sure, okay, cool. You're into art. You're an artist, right? But you don't do anything with it. Start doing shit with it. Put more energy into that and make something work. If that's your passion, fucking go after that. And find something that is you and find it and don't let that go. Keep that shit in your eyesight and focus on that. That's what you need. Some people, we need to do the opposite. For like an 8, we need to give other people room for their needs, other people room for their desires. For you, it's the opposite. Okay? Because trust me, if you don't do that, you will wake up, you're going to be 40, and you're going to have 2 kids, nice house, conventionally, very, very nice, very great life. You're going to have conventionally great life. But you will realize that you don't live where you want to live actually deep down. That's not the place you truly would want to live. You live because your wife wants to live there. You have 2 kids, not 1, because that's, again, your wife wanted that. In the end, you're going to be living on someone else's fucking means. That's what's going to happen. And you're going to wake up and you're going to be like, wow, I'm a 40-year-old fucking nothing I ever did is mine. Which is, by the way, a very common middle life crisis for many men. And that's kind of the way wow, I just lived life that wasn't mine. Make your life. Create your life. Make your path. That's my advice. Okay. Sorry, guys. No. Nate Jacobs is Enneagram. Yeah, no, I do think he's an SP8. To be honest, I mean, he doesn't fit anything fucking else. But okay, guys. I want to return to your cool, respectful, intellectual Circle Jerk server. Well, calling my server into a Circle Jerk is definitely not helping your fucking case. And if you are not part of it, you're probably not part of it for a good reason. You must have been doing something very bad. That's a sign. That's a sign. Reflect on that. Take your time. But I'm telling you, you'll find a way. And on next stream or something, think about that, and you can let me know. If yeah. Could you add my boy Cringe to your server? He's currently banned. I don't know why he's fucking banned. I mean, you have to really fuck
And
up
his
to be
name is
banned.
Cringe 2.0.
Yeah, you have to really fuck up to get banned. I'm swear to God, like I swear to God, you have to fuck up to get banned. Like, okay, there are two things that happen. First, someone joins, acts like a fucking troll, or like tries to be funny. They're not integrating in the space of the other people. They're disrespecting the space. They're disrespecting the other members. They're coming in. They think I'm gonna come to the house. I'm gonna fucking act like I don't give a fuck. There's zero tolerance for trolling. Zero tolerance for being fucking funny like that. Decapitation on sight. That's one reason. Another reason, someone cooked, okay? Someone cooked big time, and they broke some serious rules. Our server is well moderated and it's well protected, and we care about that. That's the reason why we have the system that we have in place. We care about that no trolls will be infiltrating the fucking server, and no member is gonna suffer at the hands of a fucking degenerate troll. And that's simple. Okay, Theo? If you, again, this person is unjustly banned, you can write to me on my YouTube and maybe explain what the fuck happened to them. I won't troll again. I mean, you see this? I mean, it's easy. It's easy. Listen, I'm not even. I sent a funny image. You sent a funny image, yeah. Hentai. No, but no hard feelings towards you, obviously. But come on, like shit. Fuck. What do you expect? Fuck. What do you expect, man? You're funny. Guys, listen. BDM. I'm sorry we cannot answer this question. Javi's having his fucking field day, but we'll answer other questions next time. I have to go and pick my wife up from a train station, guys. I have to go. We have to leave.
Go.
So it was very nice streaming, guys. Again, we'll see you next week. Bye bye. Take care, everyone. Okay. Sweet dreams.
Sweet dreams.